Good evening, Peach. It's so nice to see you again on this Thursday. I can't believe it's Thursday already. I'm so confused as to where we are in the week this week.
It's yeah, a roller coaster. Yeah, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. You never know. Yeah.
You never know. And that is funny, like the difference, right? Like a roller coaster, you can maybe anticipate when it's going to be fast and when it's going to be slow. But this like roller coaster of life, I think you said it very well. Like we can't predict what's going to happen. When things going to come up on our way out the door at work, which is what happened to me today, like all the different things. But I'm so happy that we got to be here today and come together for this,
Yeah, same.
relaxing, later in the evening conversation about your beautiful work and what it means for our shared community in New
Thank
York.
you.
So thank you in advance for just sharing your story today. For anyone who has not met you or encountered your work yet, this is Peach Tao, muralist slash illustrator, wonderful, lovely human and artist. And so I cannot wait personally, selfishly, to learn more about how we get to know the Peach of present day and all the great impact you're making.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So what I like to do here is, really start from inception or from, Peach as a youngin. What were you like? Did you always like art? Kind of where did your creative interests come to be?
Yeah, I think as cliche as it gets, it's just since I was a kid, I enjoyed reading and drawing, and yeah, that's how it came to be. And also, so I was born and raised in Beijing in China, and my mom was great at finding a lot of books for me ever since I was a kid, and I read a lot of mythology, those like typical stuff, and so yeah, I got into art school in Savannah, Georgia, and that's how I came to the US. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You explained it in such a beautiful, like, short story with a bow on top, but I'm sure that was like an arduous journey, right? To get to Georgia from where you grew up, but an amazing story. And you mentioned that you loved reading stories, right? All the stories when you were growing up. I'm curious. So, when I think back of my childhood in the US and in New York, maybe I read Hansel and Gretel or Little Red Riding Hood. Like those are some like
Yeah.
American fairy tales that like you might read as a child here. Were those the same fairy tales you were reading in
I mean, in
Beijing?
China, obviously we get all the same ones. My mom bought all this Greek mythology. That was my favorite, Odyssey
Ah,
and the Iliad. And actually, besides that, in China, obviously we'll read a lot. I have more of those picture books of Chinese fairy tales slash a lot of historic fiction or like fantasy. I have some. Speaking of that, I have some right here. So this book is. I looked at it when I was a kid. My mom bought it. It's published in 1984.
wow.
And it's like traditional Chinese short stories.
Oh
But yeah, I used to take this to my class, to my students, but to show them of like the way that composition, might be different, or just like it's very flowy, very dynamic, every page, and there might be more curves than let's say a Marvel comic book. And especially this page is a good example of like this kind of character in Chinese Buddhism paintings. They're flying, but it's a very interesting detail. Difference is that like they don't need wings to fly. So these are kind of like the muse that's like in the Buddhism world, but yeah, they don't. If they fly, they're like very flowy. Their clothes, their hair, their like ribbons are flowy, but they never really have wings.
Oh my gosh, that's such an interesting thing to like call out, right? Like I could look at that and know they're flying and not think about the lack of wings. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So because I've been to the Midwest of China where those desert caves are, and you can go inside the caves and look at the murals the murals that's from thousands of years ago, and you can see the style changed and like people's clothing changed. But yeah, they have the aura, kind of like Christian paintings. They have the aura around their head, but they never had wings. Yeah.
I had no idea. So I've already learned something, and we've only been chatting for a few seconds. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you know, even in just telling that story of the illustrations being different, right? The Marvel characters versus the storybooks in China.
Yeah.
And you know, it sounds like you sought out education in Savannah, Georgia, right? In like an American college. Did you hope to learn style, or what was that about?
No, I just when I was 16, I was an exchange student, and I signed up for this program, and they sent me to rural Oregon. So when I was in Oregon, it was so rural. It's like only cows and land. And I saw the photo of SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, their poster. So I was like, oh, it looks so pretty. It's a big oak tree with Spanish moss hanging down, and it's fountains. Very, very beautiful, romantic. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll apply. So I went home and I finished high school in China, and I didn't get into the college I wanted in China. But at the same time, SCAD offered me acceptance. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go study illustration. But I did look at a lot of illustration magazines in China, and they were talking about fantasy illustration in American market history. And I was like, okay, that sounds like something I would be interested in at least studying. So that was like, okay, let's go. Yeah.
Wow. So it's funny, like sometimes I guess we don't know exactly where our path is going to lead, just like the of life, but it ends up hopefully being a positive experience, or at least one that we learn something new and different from, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful for that. And I think it just like since I was a kid, you know, all the pictures I saw is very curvy, and I don't draw a straight line, only in like still life or something like that. But I think my life trajectory is like, I think everyone's life trajectory is kind of like that. It's never a straight line. It's always curved up and down, and I think it always lands in a good place, actually.
Yes, we love the curves are what make us unique, right? A straight line can't be distinguished maybe from another straight line, but curves could never be repeated. I love it. I don't know. That's
I think so. Yeah.
So you you know, we talked a little bit about how this creativity was kind of always flowing through you, right? But now, you know, your leading even title in this conversation was muralist, right? As a child, were you painting walls, or did you know that that kind of scale of art was going to be something that you gravitated towards?
Not at all. I like up until high school, I was kind of shying away from the art things because I was like, oh, I want to study Swedish. That was my sign up major during the college entrance exams, because I think I was kind of afraid, and I also don't really know if I want to make a life living out of it.
Yeah.
But luckily and thankfully that my mom forced me to apply to SCAD just in case, because she knows I mean, I think thankfully like my mom knows that I have the talent, and she's like didn't push it too hard, but she's like still pushing it. It's like, yeah, I don't think you're gonna do like flight attendants, because I like for a few months I was like, oh, I want to be a flight attendant, and my mom's like, but you know, that one is very hard on the body, and it's very short, like, especially in China at the time 20 years ago, it's only focused, they only want like, you know, pretty young girls, you have to be a certain height. And so she was like, yeah, I think you should keep drawing, just like, yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful encouragement from your mom, who kind of saw this vision for your life.
I think it's nice that it was not like a harsh full-on tiger mom kind of thing, but she's still like, I know you will end up in art school, or you know.
Yes, it takes a village, right, to kind of help us figure out what the next thing is going to be. So was it when you got the acceptance letter that you decided you made the realization that you were going to pursue art, or was it even when you got the acceptance you were like, why did
I think
sounds
I think even after graduation. So now I feel like, even after graduation I was doing things that's not directly about art, like yeah, like all the art school graduates, I tried galleries, I tried art fairs, and I was like doing things. But then I realized, no, I really just want to make art. Yeah, I don't want to deal with all these like other things about art. And I realized I'm pretty good at murals, and especially public art, like community oriented art. So,
Mhm.
so I think, okay, slowly find my way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's so awesome. I love getting to know a little bit more about how that kind of came together for you. Did you so you went into SCAD thinking that murals might be what you do, or you came to that realization while you were there?
No, we didn't talk about mural at all in college. It was always like children's books and editorial illustration. You know, that's 2006. That's like 14 years ago now. Yeah, at that time it was the market just changing into digital art, and
Wow.
people were freaking out about like, oh, books is no one's gonna read newspaper, no one's gonna read books anymore. And I think during the 4 year of college experience, even the professors are still kind of like figuring out where the market is going.
Mhm.
So we never did a mural. I never even thought about mural in when I was a kid. I mean, when I was in college, and I did a lot of printmaking. That's my minor, but where I spent most of my time because it's time consuming. You have to be at the studio, and you have to have access to the printing press and the etching, like the etching acid bath, because it's a lot of chemicals around. So that's where I spent most of my time, and I was just doing wood carving. Like I really loved carving wood, making woodcut printmaking prints. Yeah.
It's such a dynamic world, this like art scene and the art education. It sounds like you had a chance to dabble in a lot of
Yeah.
different, or at least something
I
that's
think
very different than what you do now.
I think if I have advice, or if I would go back, I would just be like trying more things.
Mhm.
So I tried, like outside of illustration, I tried printmaking, which is great. But now I wish I tried maybe like our school had like fibers major, and we had all this computer stuff that I still don't know computer stuff. And I wish I tried more like animation or comic or something like more than just illustration or printmaking.
Yeah, I guess I often feel the same way, right? When we're in a situation, we're so focused on just getting the thing done or learning the craft, like the specific craft.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But, I think we can take solace in the fact that our lives aren't over, right? We'll go back. Maybe we'll go back. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
learn from a
And
friend or make a connection or something.
totally. Like if we didn't do it in school, at least like I think in the beauty about New York is that you will meet a lot of people that's like adjacent to what you're doing, and everyone come together as a team and make something. And
Yes.
that's really easy to do in New York. So that's the good part, the positive part of the art community here.
Oh, I love that. So you're in Savannah and
Oh
murals are
yeah.
not part of your life yet, but you spoke about, like always having like the curviness maybe to your drawings. Was your style like whimsical images inspired by environments and stuff? Was that part of your life in Savannah? Was that from before then? Like how did your style
Yeah.
get influenced by your time at
I
school?
feel definitely. I like my composition always since college is always kind of curvy and trying that. And I think my I went to Europe. Like we have a French campus. So after 8 weeks in that one, we did like my friend and I we just did a lot of Euro trip, and I went to Prague, and I think that place and the whole like Eastern European style like really hit me. And I was like, oh my God, this is so me. I love it. And then the more I go south, like Italy or Spain, and I realized their style is more like inspirational to me. And
Yeah.
like I love it more because it's very expressive. And then Eastern European is like very dark, but also fairy tale-ish. So I feel like my style kind of evolved, like developed into my own stuff after So that was sophomore year. So after junior year, and I started to dabble in printmaking. I started to take a lot of classes. So I think junior year is when I really have like the subject matter, plus I found a medium at the time that best can translate what I think in my head onto a paper. So I think that year was when I feel most of myself is coming through.
Yes, like the magic sauce, the secret sauce, all the ingredients were there. That must have been so satisfying. I feel like the first 2 years you described so well of us kind of just like bopping around, like getting different.
Yeah, I think the first 2 years, definitely, like you don't know who you are and you're trying things. And I think that's what the first 2 years of college is for. And actually nowadays I tell a lot of people, like, you don't even need to go to college right away. I think like if I had the chance to take a real gap year, I would love to.
Yes. Oh, if only. And maybe spend more time in Eastern Europe and Western Europe and all the different.
Or just like, go to different places, different continents and stuff. But yeah, when you're just 18, you really don't have idea anyway.
Right. When I was, kind of geeking out on your website and trying to get to know you before we spoke, one of the things that you wrote that made my heart just like flutter, so excited and so at peace, was this idea of evoking the feeling of having sweets on a Sunday afternoon. Like I've never heard a better phrase, and I want to hear so much more about what that means to you and why that's important to you.
Oh, it was just I don't know, I just wanted to describe the feeling. And like all my work is, it's not like like a punch in your face or something, or not like we can do it like that kind of political poster. But because I think other people are so much better in that. Like and I know my personality, I'm always like more like observant, and I'm extrovert, but I don't get involved in any of the tables. Like I'm always the kid that's like sitting between all the lunch tables. But so I think for me, since I grew up, every day around 4 or 5 p.m. I get home from school. This is where time about elementary school. Sure. And it's my fruit time. So my grandparents will pick me up. My mom is still at work. My dad is still at work. And they pick me up, and then that's when we get home, we have fruits. It's the afternoon, is the fruit snack time. Yeah. So like every day I would eat fruits around 4 p.m. And nowadays I eat fruits anytime, but I just need to have it every day. If I don't have fruits or vegetables for a day, I would feel so uncomfortable.
I get that. Yes. But especially even the tradition of it with your grandparents, I think is so so precious, right? So meaningful.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a very good habit to have. And so I just want that feeling. It's like, it's very content, and you feel your heart is warm, and like a nice lake. And I think that's a good feeling, and I hope that's the feeling I can evoke in people when they see my art.
So beautiful. Each of our days will be better when we see your art, and it's a beautiful goal to be putting out into the world. And I'm curious about, so murals are such a public thing inherently, right? They're in the streets, they're on our commutes, they're just like you get to stumble on them when you least expect them. Do you does the location of the mural matter for whether you take the project? Like, are you looking to partner with different sorts of places where you feel like that joy is needed, or like how do you what is your process like for maybe creating opportunities to put this art into the world?
Yeah, I mean, for honestly, right now, it's just whoever asks me, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And very luckily, so far, I have done murals that people invited us to do in different neighborhoods of New York, which is definitely one of the best thing about painting in New York is that every street corner, every neighborhood has a different vibe.
Yes.
And different, but the same is like, neighbors will love it, and they will come watch out for you, and they will come tell you how much they like it, and sometimes they will bring you food. That's the best part. But yeah, like all of this is making me go to different parts of New York and just feel the people, which is one of the best things. And I do enjoy the most is that when I can get into, especially like neighborhoods that don't get as much public arts,
Yes.
or maybe they have graffiti, which is great. I like graffiti too, but it's more like the fu kind of graffiti. So if I paint something like a little bit more positive with nice colors over there, then people's reaction is so expressive. They are so, a lot of people really come and they will come every day and watch you paint. Yeah, so like they show up, show their support, and so that's the best feeling.
Oh, I can't imagine what it's like to get to see those really satisfying reactions, right?
Yeah, that's really nice. Especially a lot of grandparents, they come, and I think that's the sweetest thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
so
even
cool.
yeah, and even if we were doing like hospital like today or last year we did a hospital in Brownsville, and it was a big, very busy intersection, and there's traffic all the time. It's very noisy, but then people, even in the car, they see we are painting and they're like honking, like but so New York, so expressive. Like if they love it, they will yell from across the street.
That is a great way to put it. We are not a quiet bunch of people.
Yeah,
city residents.
I haven't had the time to. I mean, I haven't had the chance to paint that much outside of New York yet, except just one time in Puerto Rico. No, one time in Beijing. In Beijing is my friend's music school. So yeah, of course, all the kids enjoy to come paint after their music class. But yeah, I'm looking forward to experience the street vibes in different cities in the world in the future.
Yeah, what an intentional way to get to be kind of out on the street. People, I feel like that's just a great way to like bring down people's inhibitions, right? Like get them to come talk to you because you're like in this vulnerable state of this paper in your hand.
A lot of people will want to talk to you a lot.
And that's so special. I love that. I might just have to like, I don't know. No one will want me to paint a mural on their wall, but I love that idea of getting to talk to people because I'm standing outside and holding I stand there and hold a paintbrush and let people talk to me. You've inspired me. I'll keep you posted on that. But so you mentioned that right now a lot of your work is people in reaching out asking for you to kind of fill this need that they have or this gap where they want something beautiful. What happens from there? Like, have you, maybe it's different each time, maybe there's sometimes it's
different each time. But more or less the same process is like either we have people reaching out to us or I work with different organizations and they will say like, hey Peach, we have this project that we think you're good for, blah blah blah, like maybe schools or maybe different facilities or whatever, and I will say yes, okay, I'm interested, and now we get a layout roughly. Maybe some project it's just more commercial direct, so I just need to provide sketches, revise, blah blah, and then we can paint. Maybe a lot of my work is community public facing work, so then that means I will have to involve the community in every step of the way. So for example, if it's a school, then I have to figure out, like we have to speak with the principal, get permission, set up several weeks of like, or maybe 0 weeks of concepting time with the kids, with students, or with however age the group is. And then I will create sketches, blah, 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 several rounds, design, change, things like that. And then we'll set time to paint. So it's a long process, usually several weeks if it involves with all this, if it involves more than one person. Yeah. If it's something I can do, like, yeah, for something like commercial wise, then I can do it fast. Yeah.
Sure. That's so important though, right? Even though it takes so much work to kind of get everyone on the same page, I imagine that means so much to the kids and the faculty when they get to feel like, I had a voice in this thing that's part of the environment.
It's always nice. And then you always see it's so sweet. It's like some kids and they tell their parents like, oh, I did this, I did that.
Oh,
Well, they
amazing.
only did a few strokes, but they will say like, I did
Well, like you did. Yeah. I, you know, through the lens of social work, I actually studied a little bit about, public spaces and public art. And people are always trying to, I think, learn how to bring in more voices or do it with more intention or more dignity for the community and all of that. Like, how did you get started with these community focused murals? Did you know always that you're going to have conversations with the principal and conversations
Oh,
with the children, or like when did the first one come to be? How did you switch over to
that was when I was still like just doing a bunch of things, mostly illustration, and I was still working at like helping out at community print shops. And a friend of mine, this is I think in 2017. So she had some church friends, some friends that visited our apartment that day, and they saw my work and they're like, oh, you seem like you're good with kids, and I'm working at an organization that like paints school murals. Would you be interested in helping out? So I helped out for a year, and then I was like, okay, I can be a lead artist, like teaching artist. So I learned. So starting from there, then I did my first school mural in 2017. Yeah. But 2017 and 2018, I was only doing like 1-2 schools a year at most. And I was still trying out different things. I'm like, what do I want to do? And then in 2019, I'm like, okay, why don't I give this mural thing a more dedicated try? Because I didn't try before. So so besides schools, I started to, but from the last 3 years of schools, then I have portfolio now. So I was like applying to different things, and I also started to paint holiday windows regularly.
I love those.
Yeah, me too. Those are so fun. And I got to eat out in different places of New York that, usually they might like want you to paint. It's like bars and restaurants. So yeah, they usually feed me. So it's great.
So
I
smart.
get to eat and paint. So 2019 was my first year, kind of like I had consistent projects within the mural world. So that's great. And I was like, okay, I need to make a bigger punch next year. And then 2020 happened.
Oh my God.
Actually, other things came around.
As they do. And I mean, I think just your diving into the mural making world to begin with was such an unexpected thing, it sounds like, right? And had this really beautiful outcome.
I remember when I first moved to New York, 2011 or 2012, I even went to help like a SCAD alumni's friend's project, and it was like painting on the wall with kids. I helped like for 10 minutes, and I didn't even think in my head like that's something I want to do more. At the time, I was still trying to do like children's book illustration and like other things, which didn't really go that far. I mean, I got some good projects in illustration, but it was never like it just didn't feel that right. And then when I gave the mural thing another try, I was like, oh yeah, I should have done this. Like, why didn't I do this earlier?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what maybe are the most important things for you, or what do you value the most in mural making versus the illustrating for children's books?
No, I think children's book is just because it's such a hard market to break into. You really need an agent, and it's like a lot of things to deal with. I feel mural it's more direct, which is kind of fits my personality.
Yes.
And actually, you get to paint whatever you want. Not whatever, but you get to paint your own style, and the whole street, the whole world is gonna see it.
Yeah.
It's just so much more direct, and you get straightforward respond from your audience. Yeah,
I love that. I love that word direct to describe the public art kind of experience.
Yeah, it's definitely cut down. Of course, there's other higher, like, I don't know how to say. Sorry, my brain is fried.
It's all right. It's late
Yeah,
at night.
but I think it's very straightforward. It's an image on the wall, and anyone who passes by is gonna see it. So it's just so much for me. It was such a less of a hassle to try to find like publishing world and stuff like that.
Yes. So that makes sense to me, and that's so cool. And what I'll do is I'll pull up some of your works and we can talk about
Yeah, sure.
them more specifically. First, I'll like dive a little bit maybe further back in your repertoire, or we'll deviate for a moment from the public art to think about some other things that you know have shaped your experiences to date. The first one, I just like think it's so rad that you did art for David Yurman. That's so cool. I'd love to hear more about. And then the other one looks like maybe it was one of your printmaking pieces.
Yeah, that was actually my favorite, one of my personal print, and it was so special for me. And I still have it. I need to do something with it.
Oh my God, it feels like a beautiful fairy tale that I like want to dive into and then like maybe accompany Peter Pan somewhere. Like it seems very magical. But I'd love to hear more about, you know, did one of these happen before the other? Was the printmaking piece before?
Yeah, the printmaking was my senior project, one of my senior projects. And it's actually really big. It's like a mural. It's several feet long. I carve it on 2 different pieces of wood, and I have to piece everything together. And it's about a lot of the places I've been to. There's elements from Prague, there's elements from Florence, there's things from Beijing and Greece. I actually haven't thought about this work for a long time, and I really need to do something else with it. It feels like a beginning, and now I want to add more things to it.
Oh, I'm so excited to see where that goes. Can you tell us a little bit? So you mentioned there's pieces of these different places that meant something to you in this work, like the Greece one, for example, like how did that get incorporated, or any of them that you might remember at the time?
So the middle, it's kind of like wavy, and middle, it's kind of, there's a little circle of this girl on the unicycle.
Yes.
Dancing with the death. So the girl with the unicycle, I saw that I saw teenagers on the unicycle on a square in somewhere in France, and then the death is a figure from this clock, medieval clock tower from Prague, and I would just that clock is like one of my favorite things in the world. I stare at it for several days when we were there.
Wow.
And yeah, there's like the mermaid turn on the left, and oh, there's also Viking ships, because I went to Sweden 2 times when I was a kid. I think that really influenced me a lot.
Wow.
All this Viking stuff. Yeah, and you can see the other tree on the right side. Then we see some Beijing style lions and some gargoyles. Yeah, so there's a lot of little things.
Yes, what is thoughtful work. I mean, I'm just thinking of, you know, when I was younger and I traveled, I'd be taking like random photos of stuff, and it'd be the same photos everyone else took. And like, then I would forget about them and they would mean basically nothing to me. But this is such a special way to like, just remember the really true to you elements of those travel experiences, right? Like the unicycles. It is so like goosebumps, like beautiful the way that you brought all that together.
Yeah, it's something I need to take out these elements and
it's time. Yes. Okay, so you'll keep us all posted. We'll follow along on social media and see what the next chapter of this work is. The other one, how did that opportunity come about?
Oh, the David Yurman one. That was because my friend was working there at the time, and she saw my other work that I did for Patron Tequila. And it was for Chinese New Year special edition tin can. Actually, I have the can here.
Ah, what an honor.
You guys can see it. It's this tin can right here.
Yes.
So I designed the packaging. They wanted me to do the Year of the Lamb. And then a few years later, like 3-4 years later, it's going to be Year of the Pig. And my friend said, hey, David Yurman wants to do a Year of the Pig thing. do you want to try it? I was like, sure, that sounds amazing. And so they say like, oh, this is our jewelry that we're gonna feature. And so we have the pig. And the story of the pig is that it's the last animal in the 12 animal cycle. It's because there was a race, running competition to see who gets the first. So yeah, the pig was the last. Yeah, I forgot the specific reason why all the animals are in the places there are. But the most famous story is that the rat is the first one because it was riding on the back of the ox this whole time. And being a sneaky rat, at the finish line, the rat jumped from the ox and became the first one.
Oh my gosh, what an interesting kind of like folklore. And I think that's so cool how you were able to have like a little bit of direction of like these jewelry pieces, but it sounds like a lot of creative license beyond that, right? To kind of
it's really fun. Life. It was a fun.
It's so whimsical. I love it. So that's stunning. And let's see what we have next here. This also seemed like a really special project that you worked on to make this work come to life, so to say. Was this from when you were in school?
Yeah, this is actually not from in school, but this is a workshop that I signed up in New York because a friend of mine was teaching it. It's stop motion on film. So I was like, oh, that's amazing. I want to do that. So yeah, it was really fun.
Oh my gosh, it looks complicated. Like I went and I watched the video too. And if I could have figured out how to have it play here, I would have, because I thought it was so cute. But it seems like this also incorporates some of your travels, right? Some of the whimsy.
Yeah.
More.
It's a winter in Venice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And what was this process like? Would you do it again? Was it torture? Is it your jam? Is it not?
Yeah, it definitely made me realize, animation, as we know, it's very process consuming. And I still have all the elements. You reminded me of another personal project that I need to finish getting out of my head. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, maybe that's the point of today, just to come back to all the great.
Yeah, no, I'm actually so emotional right now because you actually like picked me of all these things. I was like, oh damn, it's in the back of my head because of all the current projects that we are working on. But these are like the things that's really me, and I need to get them out of there.
That's so beautiful. But I think, I mean, like you said, there's so many amazing things happening right now. So I feel very confident that these are going to come back in beautiful ways when they're supposed to. And I love all the work you're doing currently too. But yeah, I can't wait to see what goes on there. Here is some more current work that, like I said, just sparks so much joy and I think moments of excitement. I can imagine, the commuter whose coffee has spilled, they're late for their bus, and they turn this corner and all of a sudden, like there's an elephant dancing with a frog and like they're taking a photo and they like no longer care if they're 2 minutes late for the thing that everyone else is going to be 20 minutes late for. Like, I just think it has such a potential to really change the trajectory of someone's day when they're not having a great one. And so can you tell us a little bit more maybe about, we'll start with the I'm not good at zoo animals, they're rhinos, right? They're on the left side. Where is this mural and what was the ask for this project, things like that?
Yeah, this is just Ben who organized East Village walls. So he has a few spots in East Village and Lower East Side. He got permission from landlords that we can put street art there. And it's completely just out of our own passion. It's passion projects, but so for all the people involved. And so I was offered a spot and I said, okay, can I do this image? I have a sketch of like people sleeping on trains. That's when I was living in Astoria, my first few years in New York, because like people on trains is the best thing to sketch, right? Like New York is you can never run out of that. So I love it when people fall asleep. And I remember seeing a lot of like mother and children falling asleep on the 7 train when the train pulled into Queensboro Plaza. So I said, okay, can we do this one? And we see so many people, human in real life already. So I would rather paint animals. And animals make me happier. Anyways, so yeah, so we have this, and I said, oh, what clothes to give them. I think Spider-Man clothes is gonna be so cute. And, yeah, the mom, I was just having fun with the clothes. Yeah.
You can tell, like, it is just so
Yeah.
fun. And I love that you were like, yeah, Spider-Man, that's gonna be wonderful. That's gonna be what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very New York too, Spider-Man, right? Like he was around.
Yeah, Queens. Yeah.
Yeah, that so it all adds up very nicely. So I love that. And what is going on in the second one?
Oh, when I first moved to New York, I think that's when Groupon deals are really, really popular. So I tried Groupon deals of tango. So I tried a few tango sessions, and I felt so clumsy. Like I loved it. Sometimes I was good at it, but not all the time. But yeah, I felt so clumsy, so that I feel like an elephant. That's how I felt.
Yes.
And you're dancing with different partners. So sometimes some people are tall, sometimes some people are short and plumpy. So that's how this image came around.
Oh my gosh. They look like they're having a nice time though, even though
Yeah, I think they're so happy together.
they're very at peace in their separate roles in this sort of tango or their dance together. And so the first one is in the East Village. Is the elephant and the frog in the East Village too?
Sorry, the elephant and the frog is in Bushwick. So it's part of the guy who runs Bushwick Collective. He invited me to paint this spot.
Yeah. So had that person seen your work on Instagram, or how do you
all of these came from, they saw my work on Instagram of the work I did for Chinatown Mural Project, which is something that we just started doing as well. Like just went to the street and went at it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So there's good things came. Like it has a snowball effect. Yeah.
A snowball effect indeed. And you had mentioned earlier, like these murals become a special way to get to know different neighborhoods, right? Or get to try different foods even. Like, can you speak to anything you remember from the East Village Walls experience versus the Bushwick Collective one? Like, what did you learn?
Actually, like the Bushwick Collective one was kind of hard to describe because it was in the dead of winter. It was December.
Oh,
it's so cold, it's so dead, and I got to learn different wall. Like you learn the condition of the wall, and I realized there's no point for me to paint in the winter anymore because the sun go down at 3:30 in that spot. So you only have a few good hours to paint, and it's so cold. So okay, lesson learned. I never want to paint in the winter of New York again. And East Village one was a little bit more fun because it's on the side of a laundromat run by a really old, lovely Puerto Rican lady. And the neighbors are so lovely. I received messages from people who live right across the street. And there will be people who came by to take photos. And not in this spot, but I did another one in Alphabet City in 2019. When I was doing that one, some older people came by and told me so many crazy stories of East Village in the 80s and 90s. I think those are like precious moments. Yeah, it really brightened up your day.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think, part of your life is like in social services kind of work too, right? I think we connected over that earlier.
Yeah.
You're getting to know each other. And so much of that work, you are hearing all these human stories, right? And carrying those with you too. But at the same time, I'm thinking of like, you have a lot going on, right? You have other jobs, like you have a lot on your plate and you have deadlines possibly with these projects. Like when those conversations come up, how do you find balance, or do you like say, screw the schedule, like I'm learning about this memory and the mural will happen when it needs to? Like, what is your
actually pretty good is that most of these conversations, most of them don't take away your energy to paint. So I can still paint on schedule. It's just kind of like, I'm getting, because I'm an extrovert. So when people talk, when I talk, I'm actually more energized. and then I can focus on painting better. Yeah, and then I think having a good support system where you can detox everything is
Yes,
very
certainly.
crucial. Yeah.
And do you have so when you enter these projects, like I think the scale of murals is what partially maybe is what makes them so breathtaking. Do you go in, you say, okay, I'm gonna finish Mama Rhino today, and I'm gonna finish Baby Rhino and Backpack tomorrow, like
Yeah, so
that
a
kind
lot
of
of these,
personality or very like
yeah,
free flowy?
no, when I paint, yeah, like these are my personal murals, so I can finish them, I know, within a certain time. And no matter how big the wall is, I try to finish everything under like around a week or two, because I don't like things dragging on too long.
Right.
And my art teacher in China, when I was a kid, I had a really good foundation study teacher, and she said the best part is you try to be like, okay, if you can walk away right now, the piece is still looking like a finished piece. So it's like, I don't want to spend 3 days just focusing on the backpack and I forget about everything else. Always remember the big picture. If you can walk away right now, like the wall is still, the art is still looks clear to people. So that's what I try to end every day at a good stage. And it also helps you restart the next day as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good, just, I think, life kind of takeaway, right? Like,
Yeah, I think that's why it's important. Like you see artists do it all the time. It's like, oh, you paint a little and then step back. And when I wasn't really painting, I didn't realize that's actually, I thought it was just something people do. But then you realize it's something very important, and actually very crucial part of it is to step back and look at the big picture every once in a while.
yes. Oh, that's so beautiful and like important. And it reminds me, just in each interaction we have, right? Just like in every artwork, like let that interaction be able to stand on its own, right? Don't leave things unsaid, or don't, leave things on a note. Like just, set people up for success if you're not going to end up going back to the mural, right? God forbid, or whatever. Like let it be able to be an artwork at each stage too.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the best thing I enjoyed from my foundation study in China. And I was just before 12 years old, before 13. Yeah.
That is a pretty solid foundation. I am a fan, and I'll be taking that with me as part of my foundation. So I'm grateful. Okay, this one is part of the Chinatown Mural Project. These two, right? And the one on the right side, I have stumbled across in person on my way home from work. I've walked past, and I've been like, hold on, I need to go down this block instead because something really cool is happening here. And I saw the tiger and the rabbit, and just made my evening so much sweeter. So maybe even before we talk about the specific works, like if you would speak to what the Chinatown Mural Project is and what it means to you.
Yeah, so in the year 2020, as we all know, things were really bad and the streets are very, very deserted. And Chinatown, actually in Manhattan, got hit pretty bad much earlier than the rest of the city, because since the news broke out in January in China, then people stopped going to Chinatown already, but the city didn't have a citywide lockdown until like March. So I remember being in Chinatown in March, on like March 1st or something around there. It's like seeing just a few blocks away, it's so crowded in other restaurants, but Chinatown, it's so dead. But actually it's safer to be in Chinatown at the time because people are already starting to wear masks. And I see restaurants are already cleaning. I see so many cleaning going on. So yeah, anyway, so in the summer, I actually, through a high school friend, she just been documenting the whole scene in Chinatown since the beginning of 2020. She's a photojournalist, Lu, and she introduced me to Carlin Chen, who's a local, like a community leader. He's retired now, so he devotes all his time helping out communities, like running Chinatown Block Watch, or like, yeah, organizing like donation events for seniors or something like that. So, and he was holding a rally because at the beginning of the year, there was a building got on fire in Chinatown, very historic building. I think it's the first public school of New York or something. So they were having a rally in June or July to help save that building. And my friend said like, hey, I saw you painted murals on your own roof in 2020. So, and she knows I paint murals. She was like, do you want to like paint something on this wood board? Because he has all this board up, like the construction site, like all this board. So I'm like, okay, sure, I'll do some. So I just did some dragons, and they had the rally the next day. So that like, I saw the photo of people put up posters and stuff, but you see the dragon coming out behind them. So it was really fun. And so that's how Carly and I met. And he was like, oh, yeah, he was born and raised in Chinatown. And he said he wants to bring back the kind of like the 80s and 70s where there's impressive murals in Chinatown. Right now, it's more like FU kind of graffiti. So he said, and also I said, okay, great. And my style is whimsical, which is like perfect. And I have a lot of sketches, and I showed him, it's like, yeah, just little kind of cultural things. It's not like we are textbook. We are lecturing you about the history of this Mahjong game, this tile game. No, but like we're the image I'm creating, I want to be kind of like ease people into it, and you realize, oh, of course, we're in Chinatown. Let's go have a bowl of noodles, or around this corner that you see old people playing Mahjong. In New York, it's like with all these tenement buildings, and of course, everyone in New York, especially elder ladies, have a little cart, a shopping cart. That cart is like everyone's essential almost. So yeah, so like little elements like this, and there's no murals or there's no public art depicting these cultural life elements of China. So why not do it? So we met, and he got permission from a few landlords that he knows would like these kind of things, and so that's how we started. And our goal is just to like help bring people back into the neighborhood, because at the time it was pretty dead still, and I think it really helped. It has good momentum. We see so many selfies, so many people taking photos with them, and yeah, it's good for tourism. It's good for internal domestic tourism. It's good for just beautifying the space.
Yes. Oh, they're so impactful, and it's so cool to see that momentum that's grown from that really good intention of drawing attention to a beautiful place with such a rich culture and stories.
Yeah, I got to learn a lot too, because before this, I didn't really hang out in Chinatown that much either. Like we go there for groceries, but that's about it. But now I met a lot of people, and it's such a great community feel, because you see all these old people, and they pass by, they will say hi to each other, they will say hi to Carmen. And sometimes when we're painting, a few times there's some people who gave us like dumplings, bring us water. It's so sweet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to explore more of Chinatown now that I work near to there. And
that's
the best dumplings you could get. Like now I'm hungry. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about the Mahjong game in the first mural, but can you talk a little bit more about what's going on in each of these works specifically?
Right, yeah. I'll start with the first. Well, okay, let's start with the pigeons playing Mahjong. So Mahjong is a traditional tile game played very heavily in China. And my family never played it. So I know what it looks like, but I don't know the rules. And they had to explain it to me, and we tried playing it a few rounds. It was really fun. It's kind of like poker. There's different sets that you have to collect. You have to collect 3 in a row of 4 different sets plus an extra one. So I actually consulted Carlin. So apparently the pigeon who's in the red Chinese shirt, he's actually giving out a winning hand without knowing. And that's why the lady who's the bottom one with all the little flower shirt, because elderly grandmas wear a lot of flowery pattern shirts.
Yes.
So that's why she's smiling, because she's gonna get that and she's gonna win. And we're gonna, obviously we need, you know, like a New York Yankee hat, or like a baseball fan looking pigeon, and a wife beater wearing pigeon. That's, of course, that's given. And it was painted in 2020. So I was looking around the buildings around those wall. So I painted those buildings in, and everyone was having posters still at the time, like hanging like New York Tough, Black Lives Matters, you know, like all these inclusive signs. So yeah, that was, we wanted to capture the feel of the moment.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. All the different layers of what's happening in that photo. And I think too, at that time of separation and the posters being the reality, like this table of pigeons coming together makes me excited for the future, right? Where like we get to come around the table or whatever. Like, I'm sure
yeah, and it's actually really cute. Like we got a lot of shout outs on Instagram, and people really enjoy it. Like, you know, they're posing in front of it. So yeah, that's a cute thing.
Yes. Was the idea for the pigeons playing Mahjong, was that something that you kind of did with, or is that, how does the collaboration fit into the coming up with the plan?
Actually, so all of these are sketches I've had for ages. I just don't have a place to do them.
Wow.
Not necessarily walls. Like I was just thinking of them as maybe prints or maybe drawings. And so I was just showing Carlin like all these sketches I had, and we can twig it to add more Chinese or Asian elements or New York elements. And yeah, that's it.
That's so
I just have a bunch of like animals cooking, and then they can be used for any culture, any whatever environment. Yeah. Originally my sketch was pigeons playing dominoes, because I remember seeing like, in Crown Heights at the time, or Best I forgot. But I never had a chance to like finish, like round it out. And so we were going through the sketches, and I'm like, okay, change it to Mahjong, and it's like perfect. It's still perfect. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's like sort of like a catalog, but a customizable catalog. Like characters and storylines that you get to kind of curate to be really specific to the place that they go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the second one here, what's going on?
Oh, the Noodle Shop. So that's our first mural for Chinatown Mural Project. And we finished it in a day because it's like not too big. And it's a nice size wall. And I was like, okay, let's do something we wanted something interactive that people can pose with. And so sitting at a street corner food stall, like that's perfect. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so sweet. Did the tiger and the bunny, any reasons behind those, or?
It was just because I was born in the year of the rabbit.
Fun.
Yeah, and before the rabbit, it's the year of the tiger. So I started to use these two animals, and and they're cooking. And of course, the tiger needs to be cooking the vegetables, and the rabbit needs to be cooking the meat.
Of course, very, very diligent kitchen. And or the meal that they're preparing, it's something of significance too? It looks like noodles from here maybe, but
yeah, it's just like a really homey, simple noodle soup. Yeah,
so sweet. And I love the little black cat too.
Yeah, my roommate has a black cat, so I figured people always like cats, so
they do. My sister loves cats, and she'll be excited to see this one as she edits this video for us. So that is beautiful. And thank you for going down that kind of rabbit hole with me to look at all these works more closely. So I feel like so much of your story that we've talked about today and the works we've looked at, they're all kind of informed by different adventures you've been on, whether they're local in different neighborhoods, like picking up the domino game from Crown Heights and bringing it to become a Mahjong game in a mural in Chinatown. And, you know, even earlier than that, going to those European travels and your experiences in China going into your work in school. Like, how does adventure maybe play into your life and your creativity? What is that like? How those all fit together?
Uh, huh. I think, yeah, it's definitely very important and it's a crucial sense of part of who I am. Uh, I and it's definitely I feel like I'm more comfortable in going with the flow and be spontaneous. Like, well, I at the same time I'm still an organized person, so we will have like I guess I usually with my art I will have a rough draft, but not too rough, of course. It still needs to be clear for all parties involved. And I will have the sketch, and on the wall I like to leave some room for spontaneous things to happen. Like maybe some spontaneous ideas, or maybe something just you thought of on a whim. I think that's like the extra garnish for a mural. And then in life, I think it also helps. Like when I go on travels, when I go on trips, I don't book every single day. Like I know what I'm going to do day one, day two, day three. But you know, like okay, I know where I'm staying. All right, and the next stop, I don't know, but during when I'm staying at my first stop, I will figure out my next stop or see
Yeah.
where it leads me. Yeah.
Oh, I think having that margin, like that room for the flexibility, for the creativity,
Yeah,
that is really
definitely. Like you still have a rough structure, but then within that structure, you can have space to maneuver around.
yeah. Is there a time when you've been working on a mural that you remember something that you added in because like spontaneously, like it came up or it seemed right or someone said
Yeah,
something?
yeah. Like when we just saw the pigeons one, the all the windows, all the posters in the window, that was kind of on a whim, because I saw like all these signs. And in another mural in Brownsville in the hospital, there's a hole, like a punched hole on the wall. And they said like, oh, do you want us to put a board over this wall? And I'm like, it's okay. I just painted the most New York thing of it all. I painted a rat like coming inside the hole with some cheese crumbs. So that's a perfect add-on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to be that way, very authentic.
Yeah, and I like everyone was laughing. Like everyone who passed by who saw that, it's like, oh yeah, that's so New York.
I love that. When you are traveling or in your day to day, do you notice any patterns to what you notice in the world? Like you've mentioned so many different things, like the clock and the car
Yeah,
dominoes game and the unicycling kids. Like and maybe you haven't, right? Because I think that some of that is so subconscious, but I was just curious if you have noticed any patterns in what stands out to you.
I do really enjoy looking at all the old people playing in the parks, because like everywhere you go, you know, like in Greece I saw that's my first time seeing people playing backgammon. And now I'm dating. My boyfriend is from Turkish. He taught me how to play backgammon. So when I was in Greece, when I was seeing like all these old people playing backgammon, I was like, oh, that's like in Beijing on the streets, old men playing cars were playing Chinese chess all day long. That's all they do. It's the same. Like everywhere you go, you're gonna see a group of old people,
Doing something.
old men like playing a board game.
We're all connected. We're all just human.
Yeah, usually in the park, chess, like things like this. So that's something I enjoy seeing everywhere I go.
That's so beautiful. We're so connected, right? Even when we don't realize it or we think we're so different. There's some things that unite us. And as we kind of abstract back out a bit and start wrapping up our conversation, I'd love to hear more about, from your perspective, why public art matters for the vitality of a neighborhood, right? What keeps inspiring and motivating you towards these things like the Chinatown Mural Project and the I'm gonna forget the name, like the East Village version of it and the one in Brooklyn and all.
There's so many of
the
those.
Bushwick Collective, those ones.
I think it is really important because for the obvious reasons, it brighten up your day, it adds color into the neighborhood, and it's just and for a lot of times it also shows part of the style of the neighborhood. And for example, for the Chinatown ones, we highlighted like dim sum food and dragon dance, lion dance. Now we have noodles and mahjong. It's all these different elements. So I think it makes people care. Like, yeah, it's a nice way to make the people who see the art care and then feel like they were being cared about.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's the best part of public art. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful way of describing it too. So thank you. And is there any, wisdom you've learned along the way, advice you would share with people who are trying to maybe support their communities through art, or just learn more about art in general, or just any advice about anything that you would want to share?
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm good at giving out advice because I don't feel that. But yeah, I think the best way is just to go out and get connected and to do it and say yes to more things. So lead to more of that.
Amazing what happens when you say yes to even like that first experience that you shared, right? And then the ripple effect that it has.
Yeah, I think it's really good. And even when there's not like, oh, no projects are coming to me, but because 2020, like in April, I painted the mural on my own roof, then that's how like my friends saw it, that's how like other people saw it, and that's how there was a producer actually saw that mural, and that's how I got a Netflix job. Like not directly for Netflix, but it's like, oh, promotional mural for a Netflix show. Like, yeah. So you never know. I mean, just keep doing your thing. I think good thing will come. Yeah.
I love that. Just keep doing your thing. That's something that we can all kind of, I think, show up to, or find a way to make.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Finally, Peach, what do you want people to leave knowing about you and your work? And what are you really looking forward to right now? And that could be about art, or it could be about dim sum, or French fries, or anything.
No, I think just taking a break this summer, like enjoy the last bit of summer, hopefully, but not really, because my summer projects are all culminating, unfortunately, in the next 2 weeks. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to go on the trip in the future. Yeah. About me, no, it's fine.
Maybe I can ask you then, because we didn't talk about it, and I had wanted to. You could share if you want why we call you Peach.
All right. Yeah. So my name in Chinese, my family name is Tao. In Chinese, you say the family name first because family comes first. So Tao, yeah, Tao is my family name, and Jin is my name. People will call me Tao Jin, but Tao Zi is also Peach. It's actually Peach. So if your last name is Tao, then people will call you Tao Tao as a nickname. Because in Chinese, if you repeat everything twice, it's make it sounds cute. So people will call me Tao Tao as a nickname, and that is Peach. So I just went with Peach.
That's so sweet. So I'm so glad that I got to, even though I had read that on your site, like that extra layer of understanding, like saying the two words twice, like I too learned something new. So I'm grateful for sharing that. And I think, just this time that we've spent together shares so much with people about your character and your motivation towards the neighborhoods that you touch with your work. So I'm really grateful for the chance to share that story here, and the chance to see your work in the world every day when I'm commuting through the Lower East Side and all of that. So thank you so much, Peach.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me on this interview journey. And they actually, yeah, you gave me so many reminders of myself, like, from this talk. So no, thank you so much. And I think it's like you're also doing this out of your passion project. So that's amazing.
Thank you so much.